Hello, it's me, Aaron, and today I wanted to talk about the purpose of the invasion mechanic. But first, let's talk about co-op for a bit. So in most of the Souls games, you can get an item, the white soapstone, the blue ice stone, etc. And with that, players can place a sign on the ground, and if someone else happens to interact with it, you'll be summoned to their world, and help them through an area or boss. If the host dies, the white phantom is sent back to his world, and the objective you have when you get summoned is to kill the boss of the area, and you'll get a reward for doing so. Now, I really like this mechanic, but summoning has drawbacks. Having the price of paying with insight, being human, or embered is good, I think. It prevents you from just summoning over and over again until you get lucky. It's more like, if you're desperate and really need assistance, you can try to get help a few times, but then you'll have to do it by yourself if you fail too much even with an ally. And maybe you think that's a little harsh, but think about it. Summoning is a distraction for the enemies, a damage source, as well as a more complex message. And what I mean by that is, for example, imagine a boss with a gimmick or a ledge you can attack him from or something. It would be hard for a message to convey such things. Well, if you summon someone, they might just show you tips and tricks, and all of that together basically makes summoning the easy mode of the Souls games. So I think it's fair to have to use an item to summon. That's how it gets balanced. But it's not over. There is also the invader to balance summoning out. But what are invaders, nobody asks. So basically, you can use items such as the Black Eye Orb, or Stone, and Sinister Bell to forcefully go in the world of someone else and kill them. And that's just so fucking cool. And this time you get a reward for killing the host. And I just love this mechanic, even though you're at a disadvantage. Die 1, not having your entire health bar, 2, have the amount of healing items you have cut in half, and 3, oftentimes fighting against a gank. But it's just so interesting to find ways to use the environment and the enemies to kill the hosts, because when you're Black Phantom, enemies don't attack you, and pushing people off cliffs, baiting people into a group of enemies, etc. is just great, and the PvP itself is just fun. But what is the role of the invader, you might ask? Like, okay, it can be fun for both parties, but why? Well, it's just another drawback to co-op, or being embered. Ganks are just this powerful, and the game isn't just going to throw more enemies at you. Being in co-op slightly increases the health of enemies, but nothing other than that. And so, having an intelligent enemy that can set up traps, parry, backstab and dodge is the perfect thing against gankers. Just give them a taste of their own player-only techniques, though it is meant to be overcome just like every other enemies. That's why being an invader has disadvantages. You're supposed to be an obstacle to be overcome, and not an unkillable menace. And even if you die fighting against gankers, the damage you dealt to them, the heals you made them consume, they won't last for long, and that's your job, to be an enemy on the way to the boss. And that's why it's not fair. It's not supposed to be fair for the invader. And so you have to actually be good to kill hosts. And it's ridiculous that some hosts complain about invader being unfair. You literally have every advantage, and the only exception where you're really at a disadvantage might be Twinks in really early areas, but that's about it. And complaining about invaders is just like complaining about mobs. If you get invaded by the same invader, you need to just learn their behavior, just like a normal enemy. Whether they parry or not, and if yes, delay your hits. If they spam a certain move, take advantage of that. It's just a game of predicting each other's move and reacting accordingly, and it only depends on skill. Though the skill demands are often higher for the invader, that always adds a technical disadvantage. But now, you might say that, if I'm at the end of an area with no heals left and want a half-health phantom, that's unfair, right? Well no, it still isn't unfair. You took too much damage, you weren't good enough, and so it's just like any other enemy, you just couldn't go forward because of the exhaustion, be it because of an enemy or an invader. But Aaron, so this means it's just luck based. Imagine that there were not enemies left, and we were about to die, and I would have made it to the bonfire, but I died because of a random invader appearing out of nowhere. Well, in that case, just run for it. Well, what's he gonna do, chase you? You both run the same speed, so you should be fine. Just run to the bonfire or fog gate and just light it across the fog gate. They can't really stop you from doing that, since you can't be hit while doing those actions. Except in Best Souls 2. Nothing is stopping you from playing dirty like that. So in the worst case scenario, you could just do that. And at that point it's up to the invader to chase and throw shit at you to slow you down. But let's just say that you're so bafflingly bad at learning from your mistakes that you always end up at 1 HP at the end of the area, and that the same guy comes and gives you a visit every time. there's a thing called going offline. It's simple, really. Just go on Steam, click on the Steam button, and click on going in offline mode. And that's about it. That's all you have to do. And you still have NPC summons if you're just this bad. And there's like 6 NPC invaders the whole Dark Souls. And then in Elden Ring, there's Spirit Ashes, so you really can't complain. So if you don't like invaders, you can't just get rid of them. But doing that will also get rid of your gang. So you have to choose. You can't have 3 people playing the game for you without any drawbacks. And honestly, I wouldn't even call invaders a drawback. Invaders are a whole lot of fun to fight. And honestly, I was super sad to learn that you can't get invaded without summoning in Elden Ring. That's like super lame. But now, before ending this, I would like to talk about Twinks for a bit. But first, I'd like to go in more detail about what I think a Twink even is. For example, Dark Souls 3, High Wall of Lothric, Farron Keep, Lap Armor, Dark Hand, Iron Round Shield, Hornet Ring, and Prisoner's Chain, twinking. But what I think isn't twinking is invading low-level people only with the gear they have access to at this level. I think it's totally fair and much more demanding in skill from the invader, because all you have is your experience and knowledge, and it's not just a free win because you're tanky and you have a strong weapon. So yeah, if you're searching for a more ethical way of doing low-level PvP, just only use the gear they have access to. I would even recommend it. Pretty fun, had a good time. But anyways, twinking. I said earlier that there was the only case scenario where it wasn't fair for the host. That was slightly wrong, because there are some exceptions to the exception. Let me give you a few examples of unfair twinking and fair twinking, because it's a thing as well. Example number 1. 2 friends just started playing the game, they have their basic Knight and Herald equipment, they're the High Wall of Lothric, and have never really played a Souls game before. And if you invade them, parry one-shot them, and then point them down, that was really unfair, wasn't it? And honestly, I don't feel good as the invader in this case. I guess I'm a tiny bit happy because I won, but you know, it didn't really do anything for me. I would have felt better if I actually struggled to kill the host. Like, honestly, the more I struggle against another player, the more thrilling and exciting the fight becomes. So, if you're one of those people who twink beginners, it's fine, have fun. But why not try to go in PvP in fight clubs from time to time? I think it could be a refreshing and fun experience for you. Example number 2. A beginner summons friends or strangers that already completed the whole game in DLCs. And they're just doing everything for the beginner, not even giving him a chance to be useful. And even if they are scaled down, his friends still have like Gale's Greatsword and Frida's Scythe, late game armor, and the knowledge of a late game player. In this case, I think it is totally fair to twink this gank, because they're not even beginners, and if they lose, they lost because they were bad and lost on even playing field. And at that point, you're either a Mad Phantom and go home after killing the high level gankers, or you're Red Phantom and you kill the host. Which is I think fair as well, because the host didn't really earn his progress, he was just spoon-fed his victories, and honestly, reminding him of mortality and that this game is supposed to be hard wouldn't hurt anybody. And for the people who say they just want to co-op with their friends and have fun, why don't you create a new character? Why do you take your level 400 NJ plus 5 guy? Do you just want to impress your friends to go on a second date or something? I don't get it, just have fun with them. I don't think there's fun in just doing everything for someone. And the other bad thing you're doing by helping them with the max stat character is kind of spoiling weapons and armor. Like, you're making the surprise of fighting this cool equipment less cool, I don't know. Example number 3. A not-so-beginner and his friends just stand around in Farron Keep, straight sword everyone spamming and killing invaders. Totally fair to invade. I mean, that's what they were waiting for, right? And if they're twinks themselves, then twinking is fine. And so, what I want to say by all this is that sometimes twinking is fair against high-level players in low-level worlds and other twinks. But just twinking really low-level players who don't even know what they're doing over and over again isn't the best. And lastly, you're not ruining anybody's experience by invading. At worst, you're wasting their time. Okay, they want to play the game with their friends and have fun, but the multiplayer PvP and interactions are fun and a part of the experience. I'm not preventing you from playing the game by evading you, I'm making you experience a part of it, whether you want it or not. It's like saying bosses prevent you from exploring the world. And I guess the only thing I'm really making you waste is embers, but even then, it shouldn't be considered a debuff to not be embers. It's not like hollowing in Dark Souls 2 or Curse in Dark Souls 1. You already have a lot of health not being embered. And honestly, just go in Cathedral of the Deep, level up face twice, and boom, unlimited summoning. There. Happy? And in Bloodborne, come on, you have more than enough insight, and even if you don't, I'm not sure you even want insight in the first place. And humanity is pretty common, you can get it from rats, so I mean, is it really a rare resource? But anyways, that's about it. Thank you for watching. This video was made by Rosaria's Finger and Mountain Maker Invader. Your presence until the end is appreciated. And bye I guess, and jolly invading!